Okay, so basically, we're going to talk about a couple of different things for the purposes of this quick video. We're going to talk about getting ready to hit. So basically, all the things that come before I actually start to swing the bat. We call it the stride and load, and all that means is the front foot goes forward, the hands set back, the stride is the front foot going forward, the load are my hands setting back. I'm going to try to keep this super simple. So front foot goes forward, hands set back. We're going to kind of watch how it happens. Oops. Simple enough. Foot goes forwards, hands set back or stay back, whatever you want to call it. This is super, super, super important. I'm going to show you a couple different videos. Here's Josh Donaldson, and he's going to get ready in a much different way. Right, so he's going to come up here almost like a pitcher's balance point. He's got this big stride, this big load. His front knee comes up, his hands come down. But what you'll notice is when his front foot lands, specifically when his front heel lands, right, he's in the exact same position. So feet outside your shoulders, knees inside your feet, head in the middle of your body, and the knob of your bat pointing down at the catcher.
Hey, Greg, can you draw a line from like the knob of the bat down when their foot lands?
So if I just draw kind of a continuation of the bat,
actually, no, straight down to the ground, just so they can see how far, like in relationship to their back foot and their back knee, where their hands get to.
Yeah, absolutely. So knob of the bat pointing down at the catcher, hands fall somewhere between your back knee and your back foot. And I'll show that again over here on Josh Donaldson. Knob of the bat pointing down towards the catcher. The knob is going to fall somewhere between my back knee and my back foot. You see both these guys, the knob of their bat is kind of over their shin here, which is real important. And I know why Jack wants me to share it is because a lot of our kids either get their hands in really tight inside their knee here, which gives you no leverage, or their hands get real long outside their back foot, and they're just outside of the most efficient window for controlling our hands. And then I'm going to do one more just to kind of triply prove my point. Here we have Mike Trout, inarguably one of the best hitters in the world ever. And he's somewhere in between in terms of how he gets ready. Carlos Correa has a really simple stride and load. It's like a 3 to 5 inch step that he takes. Josh Donaldson's obviously got a really complicated stride and load. He's going to get, way up here in his stride and load. And then Mike Trout is somewhere in between. So the aesthetics of the stride and load aren't, there are different strides for different people, and those we'll kind of take a look at on individual bases. But the thing that's not negotiable, the things that they all do exactly the same, is get into this position. So feet outside his shoulders, knees inside his feet, and then critical, head right in the middle of his body. And then again, if we're to draw these lines, right, the angle of this bat, the knob is pointing back at the catcher, and the hands are falling in between knee and foot, right around that shin area. Okay, so this is super, super critical. We're not crazy about all the things that these guys do aesthetically different in terms of how they get ready. We can tell they all get ready in pretty different ways. The things that we think are critical are the things that all the best hitters in the world do the same, right? Because if Mike Trout, Carlos Correa, Josh Donaldson, Ken Griffey Jr., Babe Ruth, all the best hitters throughout time do this one thing exactly the same, then it becomes really, really important for us to focus on this key and critical area. So front foot, feet outside my shoulders, knees inside my feet, head in the middle of my body, and the knob pointing back at the catcher. Now, that's kind of the core of the basics, but if we look a little bit deeper into the stride and the load, we're going to see some other similarities. And this is something that Jack loves to talk about as well. And first, we'll start at the ground and we'll work up. This back foot is almost always square to home plate, but this front foot is almost always slightly open at about 45 degrees, and his front kneecap is going to be open at about 45 degrees as well. And what this allows for is easy transfer into rotation. So when we start to actually turn our body to hit the ball, this is going to allow easy rotation. And if we look at Josh Donaldson, it's clear. Let's get to when his front foot lands. Right about there. We'll see that his toe is at about 45 degrees as well. His front knee is open. Again, that's going to allow him to transfer his into rotation really nice and easy. And then Mike Trout, same thing. Front foot slightly open, about 45 degrees. Front knee not closed, slightly open. It's going to allow him to turn his hips really easy.
Can I add something here?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so with the foot angle, 45 is kind of like a maximum. Everybody's going to be, you can be a little different. We have to find the angle that works for each individual, but kind of a rule of thumb is that we don't go past 45 with the front foot angle, because then your hips tend to start opening prematurely.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to talk about one more thing when it comes to striding and loading, and that's what we call the linear portion of the swing. And all that means is that when we stride forward, it's a literal move forward towards the pitcher. Even Carlos Correa, I'm going to draw kind of a line from his, I'll just use his nose. Even Carlos Correa, who makes this really small move to the pitcher, it's still a move towards the pitcher. So we'll draw a line here, and we'll just kind of show that when his front foot lands, he's literally made a forward move towards the pitcher. It's a small one. He only goes about 5 or 6 inches, but you can tell there's a forward move and then a slightly downward move. His nose moved from here downward towards here. And we're going to look at a few more dudes. If I draw a line from his nose here, we're just going to take a look at how much he moves during the stride phase. So he'll go back a little bit as he gets into his load. And then as he goes into foot plant, or as he finishes up his stride, as he gets ready to hit the baseball, you can see pretty clearly that his nose has gone forward and down.
Talked about this with many of you before. The distance that you see the nose moving forward in the swing, in the stride and load, will be about half the distance of your stride length from where you start to finish, in order to stay 50-50, stay balanced.
Camera moves a little bit here for Mike, but you'll still be able to see there's an obvious forward move with his nose there. Okay. That's all I want to talk about in this video. It's just how guys get ready and the things that they do different and the things that they do the same. Actually, the only other thing I want to talk about real quick, and I wanted to look at the same exact thing from a slightly different perspective, is posture. When your front foot lands, posture is really hard to see from that side view. But if we look at Papi from kind of this perspective, we can see his front foot opening, and his foot opens up pretty dramatically. It's hard to tell exactly what angle his front foot is at this, but what we can see pretty clearly is the angle of his spine at this point. And we call this kind of like a hip hinge. This is like pretty much a universal athletic position. So you can imagine if you're playing golf and you want to chip onto the green, you'd want to be in some form of this position. You could imagine Big Papi, hitting a slap shot from this position. You could imagine him playing defensive basketball from this position. This is just a universal athletic position. And if I am an athlete of any kind, I want to get into this position. But specifically when it comes to hitting, the hardest thing to do in sports, I want to do that from the most athletic position possible. So if I look at this from two different angles, right? Here's the front foot landing. We got feet outside his shoulders, knees inside his feet, head right in the middle of his body, and the knob of his bat pointing down at the catcher, right? This is a super strong, athletic, balanced position. And then if we look at it from this angle, from Big Papi's angle, we're going to see that as athletic as he is from the side view, he's just as athletic from the front or the back view. So what we see most often when it comes to the stride and load is not getting into this position, right? We just simply aren't consistent enough getting into this athletic position, or B, we don't stay in this position as we go into rotation. So I'm going to use this as just a jumping off point for our next video, where we're going to talk about swinging the bat, right? This is getting ready to swing the bat. The next phase of the swing, the second phase of the swing, is actually physically swinging the bat, going into rotation. So we got here is his posture at this point. And what we'll see with a lot of our young guys is as they start to swing, they lose their posture. But what you'll see from Big Papi, which is really cool, is as he goes into rotation, you can see his spine stays on that line. He's able to hold that posture as he goes into rotation to hit the ball. What a lot of our guys will do, or is as they start to turn, their spine will straighten up, and they'll get out of posture. So I just wanted to share a little bit of how we transfer from the stride and load phase into the swing phase, and how we hold that posture. So we get from here, and then we hold that posture as long as possible all the way through contact. So that's this video on getting ready to hit the ball. Next video will be on the second phase of the swing, the actual swing phase of the swing. So I'll post that video in a minute. Sound good, Jackie?
Yep, sounds good.
So Jack, I'm gonna cancel this call, and I'll have to start a new call.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yep.
All right, call you in 2 seconds.